So with pharma's reputation being so damaged, how can we help to repair it? What steps can pharma take to regain some trust?
In my personal opinion, there needs to be an acceptance, and I don't know if it ends up being a change in governance, a change in leadership, or just people getting over the idea that they have to be crooked. Because in some cases, it's just plain crooked. What I would like to see is a shift to growing the business just based on authentic value. You know, monetizing the real value that is there, because that's got a sturdy foundation. That's something that public opinion can't easily knock over. Now, I know that's not a trivial thing to do, and it requires getting over past ways of doing things, and changing cultures in an industry or in an individual company is not trivial. But I think it's the only sustainable thing, because the bad news is, with social media, things that are a problem can no longer be contained. You just can't stop people from telling each other, I took this drug and it did me harm.
So another question for e-patient Dave. Healthcare reform was passed late last night. What do you think of it? What's your take?
Well, I try not to get politicized about it, because that's just not a productive line of thought to me. I have good friends on both sides of the aisle. I personally am longing for the day of a Congress and an American political culture that's like what I grew up with, which is people with strongly differing opinions going out to dinner together, liking each other, you know, and having civilized, productive conversations together. Having said that, I gave up months ago on keeping track of the changes in the bill, what was in, what was out, because the whole discussion had gotten insane, in my view. I mean, insane in the sense of people reacting to things, sometimes violently, that actually weren't happening, you know, and I have a difficult time reasoning with somebody who's having that kind of discussion. There are some people who love that give and take, the verbal fistfights and everything, not me. I just know, having been in the crucible, you know, and having talked to people like whose baby is sick and dying, right, or somebody whose mother is sick or whatever, I want people to be able to get access to care. You know, I want people to have a chance at saving themselves. I want people to know what their options are. That's why I'm so involved in social media, because patients sharing information about that is more effective than writing an encyclopedia page. So to the extent that the bill results in people having better access to care, I'll be very, very happy.
What's the most interesting thing you've read lately? Blog, book?
That's a constantly, that's like looking into a kaleidoscope and asking, what's the most interesting thing you've seen recently? So, two books that I'm reading right now are Lean Hospitals and Chasing the Rabbit. Both of them came out of my participating in my hospital's Lean Quality Improvement Retreat a couple of weeks ago. That was a thrill to be actually in a workshop with like 20 residents and nurses and case managers in a hospital, trying to work on reducing the number of patients who are discharged that get admitted back in. So that's fascinating. It's mind expanding. I like things that are mind expanding. And on the policy front, Matthew Holt's post a few days ago about the healthcare reform bill and what eventually ended up in it was very useful to me. He's a really sharp thinker.
If you had 5 minutes to talk to a pharmaceutical chief executive officer, what message would you want to relay to him or her?
To a large extent, that would depend on how I ended up having that conversation. You know, if I just ended up on a subway car or sitting next to him or her on a plane, that would be one thing. If I were invited, you know, because somebody wanted to know something, I'd speak to that. If a CEO asked me, said like, I'm kind of interested in this participatory medicine stuff, it really does change things, what do you think we should do differently? I would point out what I said in response to another question, which is that increasingly it's not possible to control the message about your brand, about your product, about its benefits, its side effects, and that if you want to steal a march on the competition and if you want to fortify your company's foundation, what you ought to be doing is building things on the foundation of the future world in which smart patients who talk to each other become a primary source of information.
And what do you suggest from your personal point of view? What do you think the FDA should do about social media and pharma? What guidelines would you, or what tools or guidance would you like to see come about?
So I have empathy for the people in the FDA because they have a great big legal hammer over their heads and they hardly ever get praised for anything. You know, that they're tasked by Congress with making sure nothing ever goes wrong, which is impossible, so they never get praised for problems that didn't happen. They do get hammered for anything that went wrong, and they often simply get in the way of progress. Now, I would not like to have that job myself. I spoke at an FDA workshop in January in Silver Spring on device interoperability, and you know, all these connected health devices, like you've got a Bluetooth bathroom scale now that when your phone is within range, it'll detect it. It'll upload your weight history to the phone, which then sends it to the mothership at your hospital. So your doctor and you can look at, you know, data like this. There are glucose monitors that are like that as well. Now, that's fine. You and I know, you know, you've got a cell phone here, you've got a printer here, you might have a camera that's got Bluetooth built into it, and these things all talk to each other. The FDA's approach is that, you know, they want to make sure everything works. They want to certify every combination. So just imagine if you had to try to certify every model of Bluetooth phone with every model of Bluetooth bathroom scale and so on. Social media is a separate thing. Is a similar issue because you want to control the quality. If you're the FDA, you want to control the quality of the information that's out there for the sake of consumer safety. But as we were discussing in this conference today, same as in business, you can't control all the things that people are saying to each other, and you can't control like the issue of fair balance. I mean, how on earth in a tweet can you convey all that information? In the Society for Participatory Medicine, we are looking at how the shift to empowered patient communities is changing where the most reliable information is. It no longer comes out of academia. I read somewhere last year that the length of time between when a study is completed, so a favorable result comes into existence in human knowledge, and the time it's actually published and arrives in physicians' offices is 2 to 5 years. People are dying in the interim. What do you want to do? Stop people from tweeting about that information or Facebook or whatever? So what I'm starting to think is that the best path using modern technology to getting new information in the hands of people who need it may be through patient communities, and it may be that the best path to good, fair balance information will be to enable patient communities to be the source of that rather than requiring that industry or government do it. So my broadest advice to the FDA, and I spoke about differences in software development methods in January in Silver Spring, but so that's one example, but just in general terms, open up to modern thinking about how what constitutes reliability has changed due to changes in high tech, because there's a world of new value available, but it exists in a different kind of structure.
Thank you, ePatient Dave.